Hey, Steven.
What's up, Lee? How's it going, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm just, it was a good week of football to me. I mean, it felt like the most absurd week possible. I'm just, I'm just ready for the playoffs at this point, I think.
Yeah, man, we had some pretty exciting results that happened, especially on Thursday night with Panther Creek, the game you and I were both at.
Mhm.
We had some unfortunate, losses for some teams, and we had some win in your end for some others. And what a crazy week 11. And yeah, man, we are full throat into the playoff mode. I will shave later today. Like I trim my beard because I'm going to do a playoff beard that
Oh
starts
God.
today. So I'm going to shave later on, finish the shave, and then grow it out. I did it last year and have a 6 week disgusting white trashy beard.
All right. So, are you gonna? Do you grow a beard about as well as I do, where it's nice and pat? Like at least
Oh
I have,
yeah,
like I
I
have,
have I have
I
a
have
very
a
wiry
cut
beard.
open down here. So like
Yeah, like I have there's a spot where it doesn't grow right. It's wiry. I don't have a nice I don't have a nice full thick
not a nice white
beard
napily
to
beard.
yeah, I can't do like the big beards that a lot of people will do. It's all gangly and gross and just it pisses my wife off. My daughter hates it as well, but it's playoff season and they can't tell me anything.
All right. Well, for the next few weeks, my thoughts are with your wife and daughter because I hate that kind of beard. You know what? They're with me as well because I have to look at a screen and share a studio with you.
Hey, I at least I don't let food just like rot in the facial hair, and it's not going to be like overly large or whatever by 6 weeks. It'll just be there. So
See, I know
I,
that because it sounds like we have the same beard type.
I need to pull up a photo. So there's one photo of me in the wild. We met at Bobby V's after state, the last game of state last year, and I took a photo, and you can see what it looks like. It's a group photo with like Matt Diggs, Brian Gossett, Darren Lauber, or Lauber, excuse me, um, Tony and Anthony Blaylock, who are down in Houston for TexasHighSchoolFootball.net. Just a whole bunch of different media folks. We would normally meet on after games on Thursday and Friday at Bobby V's as they work and stuff. And so I met with them, and it's there. I'm gonna look it up and everything while you run this beautiful Week 11 recap show. So
Oh
do
yeah.
what you do, boss.
All right. So I think first things first. Let's get into the little bit of a news because I think we had to leave that graphic up a little bit. I know we've
Oh yeah.
got, I may not be a Ranger fan. I may be a
What more new news is there? I
I
mean, we're not going to get into the geopolitical news. We're going to keep it
know.
light and hearty.
Oh
So there's
God,
no
no.
new news since the Rangers won, and I mean, we could put,
I could put Wimbyama on there. Oh God, I definitely butchered that name.
no,
Wimby.
you
It is Wimbyama?
on the fly, you aced the hell out of that way, out
Yeah.
of that one, Wimbyama. So
Yeah, I mean, he had a 38-point game. So I just saying like that we could put that on there. And I kind of wish I had watched it because watching a giant lanky dude score 38 is always entertaining. It's like Kevin
yeah,
Durant. So
yeah,
news wise,
I'm very curious to see how I mean, I think he's going to be great for a few years. I just don't think his body type is going to hold up very well to the NBA, but I think he'll be fun to watch while
all the
he's
tall, lanky guys, it's always a little you never have any idea.
Yao
It's like the
Ming,
Kevin Durant
Sean Bradley. I mean, Manute Bowl. I mean, all the tall guys, like especially of that build, just don't stay healthy for that long. But yeah,
I'm hoping he does because man, he's all the clips and stuff from him. But I think it was in France and Europe and stuff when he was before he came over. Oh my goodness, he's fun to watch. So I guess news wise, it's really just a matter of locations coming in and stuff. So I'll let you
yep.
kind of take over there because you have all that information.
Yeah, I think we're waiting on 3 or 4 schools left. Actually, I just got one from Heim just a minute ago. So I think we have three games left in terms of playoffs, and who's playing where, um, and what time and what date. So I just heard from Coach Heim that Geyer will be at Coppell 7 p.m. on Friday. And you can go onto our website, dencogridiron.com, where it mentions every game forthcoming for the by district / area round for taps, what time, what date, and where they're located. Like I said, we have two more left out of the 17 games in our area. The ones left off are Bishop Dunn and versus Argyle Liberty Christian. I imagine that was going to be at Liberty Christian at 7 on Friday, though. And then Arlington Heights and Lake Dallas. Again, that one I think being at home for Lake Dallas on Friday. But everything else has been buttoned up for the first round. A lot of there's a lot of home games. You get into the 4As and below, you start looking at neutral site games. The one that kind of bugs me, and because I know it's a logistics thing in terms of what the stadium can hold and everything, but I'm not a fan of Louisville going all the way out to West Plano, basically just south of Allen Eagle Stadium, and playing at Clark Stadium for what is supposed to be a first round home matchup. Not a fan of that one. If I would have been Odell, I would have fought tooth and nail to get that game played like at Stanridge or somewhere more neutral toward Louisville's area than just south on 75 in Plano from Allen. But that's the only gripe I have, and I don't know what the benefit is for Louisville. I know it's a logistical thing in terms of space accommodations and access into the stadium, but still kind of feel like Louisville earned the right to have a home playoff game by being the seed 1 D1 and D1 over Allen, who I think finished the year 5-6-4, something like that.
Yeah,
So
that sounds correct. Is there maybe like another game going on at Max Goldsmith, like some other event or something?
So
For
it's
no.
just about space, really. I mean, you got to think about playoffs, and there's going to be a lot more fans traveling. So it's just about the amount of space. And I had to look up what John Clark Stadium holds versus.
I mean, they had the Allen versus Louisville game in the first round there last year, and it seemed just fine to me. So,
yeah, well, Clark holds 14,000, and I think Max Goldsmith tops out at 8. So
okay.
did you go to that game last year? Because
I was at that game last year, and I don't mean to be taking any digs at Allen. It's just it's not like their side was full or anything, and I love Louisville. Their side wasn't totally completely full either. Now, to be fair, for both sides, the weather was garbage. Now, the weather's supposed to be a lot nicer from what I got.
Yeah, I do remember the first round last year being really cold
Oh
and
my
windy.
god, it was awful. My hands were numb. I didn't bring any gloves or anything. I was just out there with my little phone gimbal. I didn't have like a nice camera at the time, so I was out there just like doing this and like
Yeah.
uh so that might be what part of the reason like Coach Odell and I'm blanking on the coach's name at Allen.
Wygington.
Uh
Wygington, I believe
it
is
feels like they've
yeah.
had a different coach the last 3 years.
This is his second year, I believe. Actually, it might be first. No,
Is it his second year? Because it feels I
might be
thought
his
this was a new
first.
coach. Yeah, it
It
feels
might
like
be his
they had a
first.
different I thought they had a different coach the last, like, I thought they've had this is their 3rd coach in, like, the last 5 years. I don't know, it's weird to me, very confusing. Uh, at the end of the day, I'll say is, or I'll sum this up by saying, I think it's a bit bizarre. I think they could have the game at Louisville, and even if John Clark Stadium is bigger, it's Louisville's home game, and I think Coach Odell should be able to say, "Hey, I want to have it here."
Yeah.
In the day, point blank.
And this could be a negotiated thing as well too. And I would love for
Fair.
anybody who knows more than I do about this to say why it would be at a neutral site. Again, to me, going all the way to West Plano, like I said, about 5 miles south of Allen is not neutral site, because that I feel like it's going to be packed with Allen fans for sure, and you're going to have a lot less Louisville on the quote unquote home side, or whatever side that they're on. They might have flipped where this is a home designated game for Allen, and Louisville gets a home game.
Oh yeah,
Maybe that's what it. Maybe that's what
it
it
might have
was.
been
Maybe
what
it was. It could have been a flipped home and home, and they just decided to make it neutral this year instead. I don't know the logistics, and I haven't reached out to Odell about
I
it yet.
completely forgot that high school does weird stuff like that sometimes.
Yeah, hell, we were talking about it in the press box yesterday. There's another reporter up there. He was doing the stats for the morning news, and he was talking about how there was we looked up a New York Times story, and I think it was Waxahachie versus and can't remember the other team, but they flipped a coin in a Whataburger to decide the last playoff spot. So yeah, stupid stuff like that can happen.
Yeah, I honestly like it, since you brought it up, the home, the flipping a coin thing. I'm still annoyed, because like our high school baseball careers ended. We lost Marcus, and we were the higher seed. We were the 2 seed out of our district. We were the visiting team in game 3 of a best 2 out of 3 series, because we flipped a coin for home field in that game 3, which I just, to me, made no sense. I guess because we got to choose the location or whatever, but still, I think that stuff like that is just insane, where it's like, I mean, you play well all year long, and then,
yeah.
All right. I think that's kind of it news wise for us. I don't know if we have, is there anything?
I mean, there's a lot of new news out there.
Yeah, I think it's all location. I'll let you kind of list off the locations and stuff, because that's
I mean, sure. So again, you can go to our website. There's a schedule tab. We have the UIL tabs first round playoff matchups, as well as I'm updating as you were talking. But we have Allen and Louisville at Plano's Clark Stadium on Thursday. McKinney, or Marcus, is at McKinney on Friday. Nelson is hosting Crowley on Friday at Northwest ISD. Geyer, as I just mentioned, is at Coppell on Friday. Northwest travels to Midlothian on Friday. Ryan is hosting Blake Belton on Friday. Lone Star is at the Ford Center on Thursday. Reedy is there the next night, hosting Carrollton Newman Smith on Friday. Wakeland and Timberview play on Friday as well. That's at Vernon Newsom in Mansfield. Arlington Heights and Lake Dallas, we don't know yet. Argyle is at home on Thursday. Denton is on the road on Friday in Colleyville Heritage. Panther Creek is going to be playing Thursday night. Congratulations again to them for winning district championship, undefeated district title in just year 2, which is phenomenal. The jump from last year to this year, and hats off to Clint Surratt, the head coach there, the staff, and the players as well for pulling that off. A fantastic finish over at Kirkendall. But that's going to be Thursday night at Kimbrough Stadium. Quillen Ford Aubrey is Thursday at Princeton. Crum Sunnyvale is Friday at Princeton. So it looks like the 6-4A and 5-4A matchups are all happening over at Princeton with our area schools. Not looking like it is how that is. Then TAPS, Prestonwood has a bye. Even though they finished second, they still get a bye in the first round. And then TAPS Division 2, Argyle Liberty will probably be hosting Bishop Dune, and Frisco Legacy is at home on Friday against Fort Worth Southwest Christian. So that's all of the rundowns for the first round of the playoffs. Again, we're missing two games. You can find that on our website. We're going to keep posting them to social as we find out as well. That's on X, Facebook, Twitter, or I already said Twitter. It's still Twitter to me, damn it. At Denko Gridiron. Mostly going to be on Twitter. It's just easier platform to use, and I forget about the other ones from a lot. I need Buffer or some sort of platform that does multi-posting at once to include threads, and then we need to link up our Facebook account stuff somehow. So, anywho. Find us on social.
We'll have sending stuff to me for those of you that follow us on Instagram for stuff. Steven can send that over to me, and I'll post whatever
I mean, I have it. Don't get me wrong, I have it
Oh,
on
you
there
have
as
it.
well.
All
I
right,
just
yeah, sure.
it's more of like a graphical thing than it is for everything else. And yes, John Piper, the man, the myth, and the legend, who is commenting currently on um our comments thread, says DenkoGridiron.com is the resource for Denko Gridiron playoff news. Working through all of the matchup pairings, and we're gonna have breakdown of pretty much every game coming up, all 17 in the playoffs, and as well as like kind of a ceiling. We did it last year, and I feel like I did a pretty good job of hitting the ceiling correctly for most teams. I think the outlier might have been Louisville. They broke past what I thought they were possibly going to do. Geyer was a little bit shorter than I thought they were going to do. So, it's a crapshoot. You never know what the playoffs come around. But yes, John is correct. DenkoGridiron.com. Obviously, we're going to have our players of the week coming up. I haven't looked at any stats for anybody. I know Luke Thompson had a great night. He had 230 yards rushing against Bridgeport for Sanger in his that season finale. So he's going to be a stud heading into 2020, the 2024 season next year. Yeah, that's about all I know off the top of my head is Luke Thompson had a good night, just because I saw a video this morning. So full throat into playoffs, and excited for it. I couldn't imagine a better time of year, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean this is the best time of year. You know what? I was trying to debate with my own self what's my favorite time of the high school football year. I know.
Hey, so since you just brought that up, let's go ahead and have a one-man show of the debate with yourself. Go ahead and
okay.
Walk us through it.
Walk us through. Okay, let's get into the nightmare that is my brain. Okay, all right, Lee. What's all right here? Hold on. Let's go solo cam real quick. Let's make it even better. Okay, what's more fun? The beginning of the year, the middle of the year, the end of the year. Hold on. Oh, it's the playoffs. Okay, all right. It's the playoffs.
That was it.
Yeah,
that's all we get.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, I mean, the voices are all in my head, so.
Yeah, you're supposed to as the one man play.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to
okay.
All right, put those out.
Okay. All right. Okay. The playoffs have all this exciting stuff, but sometimes the teams I like go home and then I don't get to watch them anymore. But then in the middle of the year, there's all these crazy games, but the tension's not always there. And sometimes the games aren't quite as exciting. But then week 11, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. It's the playoffs, because it's the playoffs. Every game is insane.
I think you're onto something.
It's
although
insane.
I think the energy for the start of the season is you can't really match. We can't really match that passion and the energy, I think, in terms of the first game of the season, because everybody's starting anew. Everybody's 0-0. The eyes are wide. We're going to shock the world this year and everything. And then you get to the end of the season, maybe half of the teams in our area or half of the teams know that that it's not quite there. And the playoffs, now the margin for error is much slimmer. So you might see a little tightness and everything, but the mentality is much different from a player perspective and everything than I think the first. But it's hard to really say which one is.
I think if you're like a diehard football fan, it's hard to like not love like the end of the season and the playoffs. Now, if you're like you said, it's just that energy is never going to be replicated from the beginning of the season. I don't know if it's ever replicated. Like even in like the teams that are really good, like they don't have the same attendance, the same energy. It's very rare unless you're going out to like the Mound Showdown or some of these local rivalries.
Yeah,
it's just never quite the same.
I agree. And just completely go off course. Yes, John, I agree. I've been thinking about what we need to have to spruce up our show in terms of local teams. And yeah, if we fill out that mug rack, that's to the left of Lee's head over there with local teams. So if some athletic booster clubs want to donate a mug of their school, like Louisville, I'm repping the L this morning. Panther Creek or Argyle or whomever in the Denko area want to throw us a mug our way, would love that. Or a cup, whatever. It doesn't have to be a mug. Probably don't drink out of those considering how long they've been sitting there. But yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. But yes, going back to your point, they're two different animals, I think. So it's really hard to qualify and even quantify just how much more better one is over the other, I think. So
I think that's actually probably the best way to summarize it. Is it's very difficult to say one's better than the other because the energy is completely different from week 1 versus the energy in week 12, 13, 14, 15 when you're in the playoffs. Like the energy on the sideline is very palpable when you're in those playoff games. There's more of a tension that you can feel.
Yep.
Versus week 1, it's like everyone's gung-ho, ready to go. Like people are just ready to like see some football and feel it and be a part of the school year is starting up too. It's like we want to see our friends and stuff, and it's like it's all that kind of fun stuff. So
yeah, for sure. And then like the seasonal change, everybody's starting to get cold. They're starting to worry about the holidays more so. You have playoffs where you kind of revamp that energy. But
yep.
I still think the passion of week 1 is a lot stronger than it is come playoff time, because again, you either know or you don't know if you're in or out. And yeah.
I just love I think this is kind of my final thought is I love getting to see that level of that next tier of like teams in the playoffs, because it reminds me of Maction football. And it's just, I just never, I think that's kind of the hill I'll die on is Texas high school football is very similar to Maction. And you get more of that when you get into the playoffs because it's just total absurdity. You might see a team recover 3 onside kicks and make a comeback. I don't know what we're going to see. You might see a ref blow a call. That's just absolute. Like, what on earth is that happening here? Like, we don't know. It's like, I never know what's going to happen every single week. It's just, it's all amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
And you get to see these high level athletes that are all going to go play, I don't know, at Oklahoma or Texas or Baylor or something.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's take a break. Let's get John to show us his wonderful cowboy hat, and as we watch him sweat in the sun as he talks to us about supporting our platform.
Everything's bigger in Texas, especially Texas high school football. We're entering our 7th season with the Denko Gridiron platform. We started this 7 years ago, right across the street at West Oak Coffee Bar. Just an idea to bring content directly wherever you are. Be a part of the community. Join us. Help our contributors to tell the stories each and every Friday night throughout the season. Talking your town, your team.
All righty. I think it's time for us to start recapping some games from this amazing previous week of slate of stuff. Oh, good Lord. Nice little tongue tie there.
There you go.
That's a good way to transition into stuff. So
into stuff. Yes.
I don't know what's going on with me right now, but all right. So let's start off with I think we're going to talk about the games we saw, and then we'll just touch on a couple of I think we'll touch a smidge on just to give us some shout outs to some teams I think that are actually, I'll start with just giving a shout out to Crum, because I really want to give them a quick shout out. Heck of a battle out there between them and Gainesville. Way to hold on to the lead. You scared me. I was keeping up with our friend John as he was tweeting. But man, they made me nervous. But way to go, Bobcats! You're in the playoffs. I'm very happy. Let's go. Write it out. I don't know. Go do something special out there in Crum.
Yeah, absolutely. It's first playoffs entry into since 2016. There's 2 teams now in our area that have ended that streak, and that's something I'm also doing on my side, is kind of like putting together who had what streaks, who's made the playoffs and everything, year to year and everything. That way we have a little bit more of a historical context. But it was a hot start for Crum. It looked like they were just going to blow the doors off of Gainesville and just stroll into that playoff. Round 1 led 24-0 after the first quarter, and then it was down to 31-21 at the half. So it was not easy. And then Gainesville scored twice pretty early in the third to go up 35-31, and it looked like, no, here we go. Please don't be the way that they go out. You had this huge lead, only to just be outscored and see your season end that way. But shout out to Case Pitt Giannopoulos for a game-saving interception after Crum had regained the lead and punted it back. It was just an exhilarating time. The energy from John Fields' tweet after they had won, you can just kind of sense it. The exuberation and the monkey off the back for Coach Caniford over there in Crum. So they've come a long way since that game that we saw against Ponder, or the quarter that we saw against Ponder. So yeah, shout out to the Bobcats for getting in and setting a good foundation for the years moving forward, because they've got young talent. Ty Tabor is going to be a senior next year, so he now is going to have playoff experience under his belt. So that's a team trending upward.
Yeah, and I think another benefit is they're not just going to be playing against some average Joe team. They're playing against Sunnyvale. That's a good program. So, they're going to get to go test themselves against what it's like against a team that might make a deep run in the playoffs. So I think that's even better for them.
Yeah, I mean, matchups are everything, right? And so we don't quite know exactly yet what those matchups are going to look like. If I go back to the bracket real quick,
I thought they were playing Sunnyvale for some reason.
Oh yeah, well yeah, there's Sunnyvale.
That's what I meant. Maybe Sunnyvale doesn't make a super deep run or something, but it's they've shown to be pretty capable throughout the year, and they're a pretty solid team. So that's why I'm saying it's just, I think Sunnyvale is a good team for them and as a young group to match up with when you're talking about as a 4th seed, you're a young team. You're going to learn from
standard
playing something. But yeah, it's like, okay, this is the standard that we need to be at coming into next year if we want to at least be able to win a few games in the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. My bad. I
misunderstood. That's what I was trying to get at. I'm not saying, I don't know that Sunnyvale is necessarily a team that I see making a big push to get to, like a state semifinal or something, or a regional final, but who knows? Sunnyvale's a very solid program. So I have no idea.
I mean, and we
don't so
we don't cover them, but we've not seen them in person, but we know that they played very competitively against Aubrey this year.
That they did. I forgot about
I think they only lost by 3, and then last year they won by like 7 or 10 or something like that over Aubrey. So they're a talented team. They probably will get to the regional semis, or as what it's called, regionals. I don't agree with that, just because there are 4 different regions in all the brackets, and the tournament goes into a funnel of a regional championship, but a lot of people call it the quarterfinals. UIL calls it its own quarterfinals. It's dumb. It's the regional finals. Anywho, on a random tangent, but yeah, they could easily get to the regional semis and match up with Aubrey in that game. The November 23rd to the 25th. So we'll see. But yeah, no, this will be a good barometer just to kind of show for Crum where you're at as a team moving forward.
All right, and so on to the couple games that we were actually at here. The first one, Panther Creek in Salina. Oh my
goodness. Congrats again to them.
Let's go Panther Creek. Down goes the big dog, similar to Byron Nelson. Another top team going down. with one of Denton County's own, one of our own teams taking them down. The number 2 Salina Bobcats beaten 31-27. It was just such a blast to be at this game. I had fun every single minute I was here. And to be honest, it felt like Panther Creek. We were talking a little bit about this before the show. It felt like Panther Creek could have won this and probably should have won this by more than they did. They kind of stalled out some drives. It wasn't the Salina defense that did it. It was the Panther Creek offense that kind of stalled out on, I would say maybe 2. I think it was 2.
It was about 3 or 4 straight.
I mean,
at
it
one
was
point.
it was a few drives in that first half, and they could have put this game away in that first half. And I don't think Salina's passing game would have had. They would have had to throw the ball, and the Salina quarterback, he's okay. He does what they need him to do, but that offense is not built to. It's similar to Aubrey. They're not built to come back from that kind of deficit.
I
don't.
I hear you. I think they're a little bit more capable of passing. Like you saw the quarterback, he can throw the ball.
He can throw the ball, but I think if you're down 21-0 or something, I don't think that's.
It depends on how
hard. I think that's
it depends on what time of the game it's in. Like if you're down 21-0 and it's mid third quarter, yeah, passing the ball is going to have to get you back. But what we saw from Salina is that they were able to get stops, and Panther Creek kind of shot themselves in the foot too. Penalties did not do them well. They were getting behind the chains, and then they couldn't make up those. Like they had a number of first downs called back because of holding or clipping, or just some dumb error that reset them back. And so they had a punt, and then Salina was able to use its ground game, and they stayed true to it for the most part. Now, they did throw in some passes, more so than an Aubrey team would, because they do have a little bit more competent quarterback play. But because it was only 17-7 at the half, that's not too hard to overcome if you just kind of stick with with your bread and butter, and that was the running game. And we saw it finally crack. The dam finally break for Salina. They got that one long run that made it 17-14. And Panther Creek, struggled to move that momentum meter back onto their side. And I'm saying this from, if anybody played PlayStation 2 NCAA football or Xbox NCAA football 06, 07, or 05, 06, they had this momentum meter. So if you did something good, it would shift to your side and the fans would be on your side. Anywho, so it's just a dumb video game joke. But anywho, so they didn't really do anything to shift that balance of the energy or the good momentum from away from Salina. And then Salina, the next drive, ran the ball again and took the lead. And then what do they do pretty much the entire fourth quarter from the 12-minute mark until about the 3.5-minute mark? Run the hell out of the ball. And they didn't break off big runs like they did with their 2 touchdown drives. It was a little bit here, a little bit there, first down, a little bit here, a little bit there. Now we're facing third down, convert. Fourth down, convert. They just chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And then they finally got the touchdown to go up 27-17. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was 27-17. It was a 10-point game because they got that touchdown.
So they had scored 20 straight with 3.5 minutes left. And I mean, if you're a Panther Creek fan, you're like, well, we had our shot. We just couldn't capitalize, and we're still that tier below the big boys. But the last 3.5 minutes were pretty damn exciting. They
oh my god,
ripped down the. I'll let you talk about it.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. It was Panther Creek goes down the field. I'm trying to remember all the exact drive because it feels like a blur. But Panther Creek goes down the field, kind of just picks Salina apart for 2 straight drive. For that one drive, picks them apart.
Yeah, after they had just burped and fumbled and farted their way to nothing in the previous 6 drives. After they went up 17-7, it was nothing. And then that drive, everything just culminated into
it worked. Perfect. It was perfect. And it looked like the Panther Creek that we were accustomed to seeing. And I don't know what was going on with Salina. I don't know what was going on with Panther. I don't know what happened. It just, everything they did worked. They get into the end zone, and then onside kick, and they get it. The Panthers get it. They go right back down the field, and it's a little bit tougher of a drive for Panther Creek there. They get down the field, and it kind of feels like, okay, they get around the 10-yard line. Things sort of start to stall a hair here. And I'm wondering, are they going to go ahead and try to kick a field goal? Like, what's the plan here? But they take their shots to the end zone, and it works. They
Yeah,
6 points and
a controversial, if you're looking at it some angles, some controversial touchdown grab by Parker Ord, but whatever. The call went in your favor. The 50-50 ball, legit 50-50 ball went to you, and you knock off number 2 ranked team. And congratulations on year 2 undefeated district championship to Panther Creek, because I'm going to be honest, I did not think when Salina got the lead and then they went back down to score again, I was like, well, there it was. Like I said, it was going to be around maybe 14 to 17 point game. I'm a little short, but they still did what they were supposed to do. And hats off to Surratt and the offensive team, the special teams, to drive down the field. Or get the players in place to drive down the field, recover the onside attempt, and then do it again and come out with the win. Now, you don't, but you don't want to do what Byron Nelson did. You went up to this emotional high. You don't want to struggle. You want to ride that high, or you want to reset and say, no, we're in a brand new season and come out in week against Kaufman next on Thursday, guns a-blazing. Like you don't want to. Rest on just being district champion. You want to make some noise now.
Yeah, it's go time here. I mean, this is a chance to ride a wave. And I mentioned it, I think, on Wednesday on the show. Is this reminded me of the J.W. Walsh Geyer era, when J.W. Walsh first came onto the scene and Geyer broke out and Coach Walsh was there, and they were this brand new varsity team and it was like, what in the world? Like they're not supposed to be here. Like you're not supposed to do this when you're a new varsity team. And nowadays it feels like that's even less supposed to happen, because the new schools just don't. It happens less often. It seems now.
They're almost like it's almost like inaugural seasons or new franchises. Well, that's not true anymore. If you look at like hockey, Vegas Golden Knights going to the Stanley Cup championship.
I remember it happening in. I mean, the D-backs did it, so it's like
it happens.
It happens in pro sports, but it doesn't happen all that often. Like it feels like such a rare occasion.
Sure.
And it feels like it's going to happen less and less with how many schools we have in Texas. And then I was going to pull up Braxton.
I will say, the J.W. Walsh comparison. The difference between Walsh and Surratt is a lot more. It's not just gunslinger mentality in terms of how Walsh would, he would up, down or 10 point, or not even down, like up 2 points with 30 seconds left in the half. Like he'll onside kick a ball, or he'll go for a 4th and 45 from their own 10. Surratt's a little bit more level headed from what I've seen in terms of that. But the new energy. It's the new school coming in and setting the world on fire for sure. Absolutely.
And I grew up around that, so it's like that's where it's like. And then the black and silver uniforms probably
sure. And then another thing I want to say, kind of tangentially off of that, is shout out to that coaching staff for keeping the players' heads level-headed when you had the chippiness coming from Salina, because I don't know if you saw it on the sideline as much as I saw it.
I don't think I quite as much.
Damn near every play, it looked like, and this could be me wearing the turquoise colored glasses that is Panther Creek's coverage side of things, but at damn near every play there was an extra little shove, there was an extra smash of a head into the ground, there was a late hit out of bounds. It was just dumb chippiness from a handful of players from Salina that Panther Creek did not buy into. Like they just They just kept doing their thing. They didn't get rattled. They didn't get flustered. They didn't fight back. Just went back to the huddle, went back to the sideline, played the next down. They didn't hurt themselves that way. Yeah, there might have been a chip block. Yeah, there might have been a hold. That happens. But they didn't do the extracurriculars that really would have set them back and bought into the way that Salina wanted to play, because they played like a bully who had never been punched. You remember when you were talking about Ronda Rousey being like the greatest fighter ever and everything? She had never really taken a punch.
Yeah, and then she finally got punched, and
she got punched by Cyborg, and she didn't know what to do. And that's basically how Salina played. They finally got punched by somebody who was of equal or greater talent and started playing like
they didn't know what to do in terms of that district. It's like, oh well, we're not used to having someone beat us in our own district, and it was interesting to see. And so
shout out to the coaching staff for being able to keep your guys level head.
And I also just want to give a shout out to that defense. I want to give a shout out to Braxton Roberts because I'll be honest, he didn't. He's a great player, but he had a rough go of it for a little while, and it was like, okay, man, like you kind of got to step up and make some better passes here for a little while. And at the end of the game, when it mattered, he stepped up and he was hitting every pass, and he was hitting some tight windows. And you know what? That's what mattered is, I think that was a big bounce back for him, because there was a go of it where it was not looking great for him. And I was also impressed with spreading the ball out, because they kind of took away Christian Trickett for a little while, right? Where, he was 5 for 69, which is not what he normally puts up. We're used to seeing some bigger
5 for 150.
Yeah, it's like, and Seth Jackson, great game. Miles Meldrum, great game. Parker Ord, great game. Like everyone was getting involved. And then I was impressed with that defense. Like they were a little undersized compared to Salina, but at the end of the day, they used their speed. They were closing gaps, and the
outside of a couple of big runs.
Yeah, outside of a couple big runs, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like, you played as well as you could, and you did what you had to do to win that football game. And I was just thoroughly impressed with that defense and what they were doing. So I'm excited to see what they do here in the playoffs. I really do think this is a team that, with the right break, if they just got to win that one big game, I think it's going to be Anna. If they can do that, and I think they're capable of it, it's just playing clean football that's going to set them apart in that particular game, that can send them off into the races.
Yeah, for sure. They have an opportunity to continue to make some noise. You've hit the bar, you've reset it. Now it's time to raise the bar even further. So
exactly,
they have a tough matchup in Kaufman, and they're not going to be easy to just get by. But they could. Kaufman
comes out of a tough district, so it's not.
Yeah,
this is not. You don't get to coast out of the first round like some other teams. It's. Go blow the doors off Kaufman. I think, come racing out of that first round, and, keep playing your brand of football. I think that's the biggest thing here.
Yeah, for sure. And that should get you a win for sure.
All right. On to the next game we saw, which, a little bit of a bummer, because obviously we want Hebron and Louisville in the playoffs. But I'm excited for what Louisville could do here, because I think they're going to be going in pretty hot.
That wasn't my takeaway from what we saw with Louisville last night. I felt like
they played special teams is.
Okay, granted, I think the defense, outside of one really busted play that got them down, like it was like a 60-yard gain. The receiver got behind the secondary, and Creighton hit it. And I can't remember the receiver's name, but the defense played well. They had, I think, at least 4 or 5 sacks, I think, from 5 different people. Hell, even Byron Ellison, which was surprising to see him coming off the edge and like third down rushes, got a strip sack, actually.
Wait, Byron Ellison
Yeah, Byron Ellison, number 21. He got that strip sack.
Oh, I did not even notice he was on the defense. He was lined up on the defense.
So yeah, that was also confusing. So he lined up on the opening kickoff. He was a gunner. and then he was playing third down defense, basically going full Micah Parsons and just speed rushing the hell out of the edge. And then he got that strip sack that led to that touchdown from Lamar Kirby, I think. I can't remember who got it for Louisville, but and recovered it for a touchdown. But yeah, the defense looked great. I think against a really overmatched Hebron team, but that you put up 32, and there was a couple of drives where they were cooking on offense, but otherwise, I felt a little underwhelmed, and I worry about how far this team can actually go this year. I know 8-2 looks fantastic on record, but the two losses, it's Coppell, that 21-point loss to Coppell still stings a lot. Then the 3-point loss on the road to Highland Park, game that you are supposed to win to cement yourself as, a really good team, still lost on the road. Now you got to go essentially on the road to play Allen, who I think is playing better than last year at this time. And I think Louisville is a little bit down from last year. It's still hard to say when you've won, I think, 4 in a row or something like that. But it's just like I'm not overly impressed with the performance. I wanted them to make like a legit 50-10 statement win to really push this concern out of my mind. But a win's a win. It was you beat who's in front of you. Now you move on to play Allen, and they could easily rip off 4 or 5 wins in the playoffs if everything culminates into the way that they can play for sure. So we'll see. They have the weapons, they have the talent, but I think it's just putting it all together and not trying to be too hero football in your one spot on the field. If that makes any sense.
I think that makes sense. And I will say, I feel a little better. And so I obviously, I kind of let off with that. I feel a little bit better about Louisville now than I did a couple of weeks ago. Part of that is I think Ethan looked a little bit better today. He just looked a little more confident, a little more poised. Maybe that's because they were playing Hebron or whatever it was, but there were some times and some drives where he just looked like he was in a rhythm. And I think as long as there's some drive, and because they were up at a certain point, they just didn't need him to throw the ball anymore and whatever.
Sure.
So it's like once he got into a rhythm, it's like,
yeah, I mean, they for sure pulled by Byron.
They pulled him. I think there was like 8 minutes left, so they ended up with like 3. I think it was 3 total drives where they didn't have the starters out there, 3 or 4, and
yeah, and then they were also
they would have had a chance to be a win by. I think they would have had a chance to get to 40. So
yeah, I get it. To me, it's just more of like the concern of just the output from the last 3 weeks. I think 14 against Marcus, and I feel like you're a much better team than Marcus, and maybe not. But only then 26 against Plano East. I feel like you're a much better team than Plano East to only put up 26. Hebron, I mean, I 32 doesn't seem like. I mean, you take away the strip sack fumble recovery for a score, it's only 25. So I feel like they're a better team than that only scores 20 to or 14.
That makes sense.
Points. So that's just my concern is like, what happens when you're challenged against a team that can put up points in a hurry? Do you have the ability to keep up, or can the defense not have those mental breakdowns in the secondary against a very pass happy team and give up a 60-yard chunk with regularity? So those are the concerns still, but you watch film, you wipe the slate clean, everybody's 0-0 again, and it's a 6-week march to get to state.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right with those concerns. It's can that offense, if it's a game where it's the other team's going to score 30 plus, can you go toe to toe with that, right? And
yeah.
I'm still a little concerned about that. I think they have the talent to do it. It's just
but again, it's just putting the pieces together.
You know,
So
I don't
again,
know.
that's why I was a little underwhelmed. I just felt like they should have really made a statement to say this is not even going to be close to a contest, because it was 13-10 at the half, and had it not been for some terrible clock management at the end of the first half, we're tied at the break at 10-10. So
Yeah, there was
as
some
well
weird.
as
Yeah,
well as a
yeah,
late
I mean,
hit out of
so
bounds.
kind of onto the Hebron side. There was some. I think Hebron shot themselves in the foot a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
It was frustrating. If you're a Hebron
Especially
fan,
when you have the chance to playoffs right there, because that would have been
yeah,
if Plano East, they did a good job of winning against Marcus, and that's unfortunate for Marcus, but they're still in. But if you would have forced that 3-way tie, I think Hebron would have still missed. It would have been a point situation, I think, in terms of that, and based on how much you lost by, or how much Plano East won by, or something like that. There was a point scenario available, but yeah, you had a golden opportunity to at least force that issue, and it looked like a team, and for the most of the part, that already knew it was out of the playoffs.
that's kind of what it felt like. Once Louisville got up by a certain amount, they were kind of done. And
yeah, I think that touchdown to lead off the second half. So Louisville was up 13-10, Hebron punts, then they score immediately to go up 20-10, and it felt like you can put all the air went out of the stadium. Like, it was just okay. Well, season's over. That's what it felt like from the box.
that's kind of what it felt like on the sideline. I don't know exactly, because they had one more big play that they ended up with in the third quarter at some point, and kind of they ended up with the ball again, tried to revitalize or get themselves going again, and it just didn't work. And they just kept punting. And it's like, at some point, just your season is on the line here. Like, I mean, stop punting. Like, just I know you're in your own territory and whatnot, but it's like
I think the only thing that might have rejuvenated them was the missed field goal that would have put Louisville up 29-10.
Well, they had an interception or something at the very end, but like that was.
Oh yeah, we already knew that was over by that point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the team was kind of excited because it was a fun play, but I don't know, it's really weird. The team, like, everything was just kind of dead for a lot of the second half, and then it was frustrating. I think it was the first touchdown that I think it was the one touchdown Hebron had. They called a timeout to make sure they had everyone out there or whatever. I just didn't understand the timeout and some of the timeouts that Hebron called in that first half. It was like, just take the delay of game. Like, your kicker was clearly good enough to, make an extra point from a little bit further away, from 5 yards further back. I don't know why they burned a timeout. Just it was bizarre. I didn't get it.
Yeah, there was some bungling of things like that. And again, that the first half, the way they ended the first half with not having any kind of spunk to their offense. Like, they ran the ball on first down with 53 seconds left in the half, then allowed like 15 to 20 seconds to roll off the clock, then call timeout, then ended up having to punt. Then the punt return goes for some odd, so however many yards, plus 15 for a late hit out of bounds and an untimed down.
Yep.
And like, to me, that's when like the game just kind of got lost for Hebron right at the end of the half.
I forgot about that, because then Louisville got a free 3 points out of that, if I'm not mistaken. They made the
untimed field goal. Absolutely. And it was 13-10. And yeah, it was just complete weird management of things. More so on the special team side of things for Hebron. But shout out to Louisville for putting them into that position and making things uncomfortable for the Hawks. But you would have liked to see the Hawks get into the playoffs, and Marcus. Ideally, Marcus would have won, and then Hebron would have won, and we would have had 3 teams out of 6A. So,
kind of just touch on that Marcus game for a brief minute. How are you feeling? I just want to, just kind of bring it up because it was 6-6A was utter madness kind of going into this week, and we kind of knew it would be. And it kind of felt like it lived
Yeah.
up to that to some degree because Plano East is getting in, or Plano East is in, which means that Capel and Guy are going to be playing each other. And this Marcus game, I don't know what happened with Marcus, just a little bit here.
Yeah, it felt like a team, at least just from kind of watching it in the box, it felt like a team that had felt really good about themselves and almost knew that they were in the playoffs regardless. And so they performed as such. And then they tried mounting a comeback, because Pesh was up 13-0, I think, for most of the second half, and then there was 13-3, then 16-3, and then 16-11, with Marcus making a comeback. And then they had the ball late, really late, and threw a pick six to make it 30-18. And essentially, Seal, at the same time, Hebron was losing bad. Essentially, Seal, Plano East getting in, and Marcus, and set up the Marcus and McKinney matchup. Yeah, it's just, we talked about this on Thursday. I would rather see teams go in hot and having that win under the belt as opposed to coming out flat and almost backing into the playoffs and lucking in, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah.
But maybe again, I can't speak to the mentality. Maybe it was just more about what Plano East did and was trying to get to than it was Marcus just resting on their laurels and then feeling confident that they're going to get in regardless of the outcome. So that's just what the result speaks to. They tried at the end, and then Dave Parlin unfortunately throws a pick six to seal that game, and there we go. I mean, that's kind of how it was. I mean, I don't know if we would have been there, maybe we would have felt the vibe a little bit.
It's bizarre to me. Well, not bizarre to me, but I want to say a little concerning that all your key players were playing pretty much their normal snaps. It seems like Isaiah Kalakipi had 17 carries, and Dame Parlin was out there. He threw the ball 39 times, and this is the result. Like that's what, and like you said, it was a flat. It seems like they came out flat, just didn't play their normal brand of football. It's one thing if that happens and you lose this game and you were like, hey, we're just going to let our guys play half. Right. But that doesn't seem to be the case. I know that wasn't the case. So that's the part that's a little worrisome to me. Similar to I'll go ahead and switch this over to Byron Nelson. I don't know what happened there. A little concerning to that for me there, because it's like, all right,
it's exactly what we talked about with Crum. Like
they've got
going out a high and then coming down.
Yeah. So the good thing for Byron Nelson compared to Crum and Panther Creek is they got this out of their system maybe here in week 11, but all their starters were playing this week. Tom Von Groot, he was playing, Tucker James, all these guys were out there. And I think that's a little, I would have thought maybe they would have rested somebody, not, maybe pulled back a little bit, but I don't know what,
and I mean, you could say that for a couple other teams too. Wakeland was in a dogfight early on against Frisco. They started off really slow. Same thing with Frisco Lone Star against Heritage. It was a slow start, and they ended up blowing them out. But it's like, this is not the mentality or the type of play you want to put in front of scouting teams that you're going to be facing next week, to say, okay, hey, we can do this against them and put them in a bind and keep it close. So yeah, it was just it was a rough week for some of the teams that we expect them to just roll through, and then now you got to worry about the coming off the high for a couple of these teams, because we've seen the lull for like the Byron Nelsons. Again, that's a rivalry matchup. It's Northwest Eaton versus Byron Nelson, and that's always a tough matchup in general for those two schools against each other. But yeah, you after essentially dominating South Lake Carroll, which is a phrase you hardly ever hear in Texas high school football in general. South Lake Carroll dominated. You were you were that close to having the dream season or dream regular season upended. So hopefully the coaches recognize that. Hopefully the players recognize that. It's not, now is not the time to get big headed and feel overly confident about yourself. We're back to the grind and going after it.
Yep. All right, folks. I think that's going to do it for us. So why don't you go ahead and give us a follow over on all of our socials at Denko Gridiron at DenkoGridiron.com. Yeah, on our website. Stephen does a lot of good work there. And then obviously, like I said, our socials. And if you can follow Stephen here, I am Speeder. Follow me at Lee Livingston on Instagram. There's a little underscore on my Instagram. So,
programming note, we'll be back on Wednesday, 1:00.
Oh, yeah. Good little note.